from Kyle to Kyle, Texas, and it's like Kyle Inception, WTF, like question mark, question mark, question mark, and then yeah, with the Nameless podcast.
That should be it. Nameless digression.
Yep, gotta catch them all.
I know. I was actually thinking about having a splish splash. I've been very dehydrated lately. Just feeling.
Yeah, we should
pruny.
like. So a wise person once told me that when you're creating content, you write drunk and edit sober. It's perfect. It's the perfect technique.
All free-flowing thought. But then you can clean it all up.
You just let it ride, and then you clean it all up sober. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's perfect.
Yeah. I feel like the digression would be at an exponential
Oh, yeah, it
level.
would be terrible. People wouldn't be able to...
It would be like...
They can't handle it.
Massively all over the place.
Yes, correct.
I don't know if anyone would be able to follow that.
Yeah.
They would just quit, probably. 5 minutes in.
Yeah, well, back in my younger days when I did get drunk on a regular basis, I was streaming on Twitch, and Michael and I did a drunk stream. We planned it out and everything. Caitlin had already moved down to Texas, and I was in Illinois by myself, being a giant idiot. And so we just were like, yeah, dude, we're going to do a drunk stream. And the only alcohol in the house was 2 bottles of wine that Caitlin had left behind. And at the time, I didn't even like wine. I think it was white. One might have been red. Yeah, one might have been red. One might have been white. And I finished both of them for the stream.
Oh, Lord.
I don't remember the end of the stream. Neither does Michael. We both passed out in front of our cameras. Not that it was, it's not a proud moment in my life, but it's funny to it's like watching Jackass. It's just like those guys are idiots, but it's funny. It's funny,
enjoyable to watch. Yeah, exactly.
It's just like memory. I think back and it's like that guy was an idiot, but it just so happens that guy was me.
Oh, that's just wonderful. So it's so good to reflect back on the proud years of your life.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, I love that your wife moved to Texas to work at a job. You were
and I stayed home. I actually did the exact opposite. She moved to start her job to progress, obviously, and get settled in. I was winding down my job, which meant I had nothing because I was a real estate agent. So I was like, well, I'm not going to take on any new clients because I'm getting ready to leave. So I'll just stop taking on clients. And then as their houses close, then whatever. And there was because there's 3 months that she was down here in Texas before I came down. And there was it took me a month and a half to wind down my real estate clientele. And then I had a month and a half of just nothing, just whatever. And it was not good for me. Very destructive.
I would think so. I would think that would be, it really, in all honesty, I think everyone, but especially men, do not do well with no purpose.
Well, you'll find a purpose. It just depends on if it's good or not. You know what I mean? You'll find something. Yes. It's just is this a constructive, useful purpose? But
yes,
odds are it's not if you don't. Yeah, if you're not out seeking it constantly, your fallback is going to be not useful.
No.
I'm useful all the time. Oh man, I got some free time. I don't have to worry about it. What am I going to do? And then it just devolves into just horrible, stupid things.
Yes. For me, ironically, this podcast.
horrible, stupid thing just evolves into. Oh,
yes, that too. That too. But this podcast was that for me. When I had a lot of free time because, everything with my mom getting cancer, I ended up, she watched the boys. So I ended up having to stay home with the boys on Mondays and Fridays. And so I had 4 days off. Now, of course, I'm watching 2 boys. So that's not really like a day off.
No, it's certainly not.
But I had a lot of free time and nothing really to do. I mean, I started working out more and kind of focused on that stuff, but like that only takes so long. You can't work out for like 6 hours a day. And so I was just like, what am I doing? Like, what am I going to do? And then you brought up this and I was like, yes. I was like, give me.
That's what I'm doing.
Yes. And I was Googling stuff, YouTube. I was all over the place trying to figure out how we were going to do it. And that's what I needed. I needed purpose. And every single time I got like free time and stuff like that, I'm using it for purposeful things, because when I don't, then I just like, I mindlessly scrolls through stuff, or I started to play Tetris again.
Have you watched it yet?
I have not.
I'm about halfway through. Mad. I'm halfway through last night.
A movie halfway.
Me, when I don't like to, but me when I'm exhausted and I knew I had to get up somewhat early today, and I started watching it last night. Caitlin fell asleep while watching it,
of course,
and she had her pump on, for milk, and she's like pumping, and I look over and she's like this, just like hit chin down on her chest with like her pump on. She's just like sitting there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, okay.
I forgot about those good old days.
Yep,
it's always an enjoyable time. But I have to admit, that's like real adulting, to stop a movie halfway through because you need to get sleep.
Well, it was rough because she eventually got up and went to bed. She's like, all right, I'm going to bed. And I'm like, I'm coming. I'll be there in a second. And so then like, I'm like, okay, once this like scene is over, but then it would like hook me and keep going. And I'm like, okay, well, like that scene's over, but that scene kind of bled into this one and kind of, so like, I'll just wait.
Making excuses the whole way through.
And then finally I'm like, okay, I right here. I have to stop or I'm going to be here all night. So.
Oh, for sure.
Excuse me.
Well, now I need to see it. I just watched the
so far it's great.
And then downloaded Tetris. So, clearly.
Yeah, so far it's great. More. I'm a fan.
Well, what's his name? Taron
Egerton.
Oh, I love him.
Him and Marv. They team up all the time. The studio.
Yep. I was going to say, it's
kind of how he got his start. Well, like that's how he got his big break, let's say, is the Kingsman. And Marv did the Kingsman.
Yes, ever since the Kingsman, I've pretty much loved everything he's done.
Except for Robin Hood. Not a fan. Not a big fan. It
wasn't that great.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't.
No.
It's very sad.
And they dump on the Catholic Church like the whole movie, which I mean I'm okay with, but
it was really sad because I was very excited for it. I thought
I was too. I watched it in Afghanistan.
Kingsman-ish.
I bought it online. Like I didn't even rent it. I was like, nope, it's going to be good. Bye. And it was not even close. I've seen it that one time, so I don't know. Maybe I'll give it one other watch, but probably not.
I'll be honest. I've seen it 3 times.
How do you do it?
It's one of those things where, sometimes you watch a movie and it's awful, but there's certain things you connect with, and you're like, I can just keep watching it even though it's bloody awful.
Yeah, and I guess I can get that. Like,
it was
an extreme example is like Top Gun. Like the first one, I love Top Gun, love it. For those of you listening, my youngest son's name is Maverick, so I love Top Gun.
Literally loves Top Gun.
I'm a sucker for 80s action. And it's not like Die Hard where it's like all action sort of thing, but I lump that in with it, and it's just like I'm a sucker for it. It's so good. It's just unapologetically is what it is. It knows what it is, and it just, it perfects it. So, big fan, but it's not a good move. Like, the acting isn't good. You know what I mean? Like, there's so many scenes. Yeah, but like, there's so many scenes where like, like, it's just not good acting, or whatever. But like, the story's great. It's like you said, it's the '80s. It's the feel. Like, they're playing sand volleyball, and he's in jeans, like sweating his balls off in jeans.
Tom Cruise was looking good.
Oh man, it's just like
he was in great.
Val Kilmer was looking good.
I know. That was so.
Oh, poor guy.
It's a classic. It's a classic.
Yeah, it's one of my all-time favorite movies. It's awesome. Yeah. But it's cinematically, if I'm going to compare movie to movie with like writing and dialogue and acting and everything, like, it's not, Top Gun's not going to be on there.
No, that's true.
But that's not what my top 5 is. My top 5 consists of The Fifth Element, and The Fifth Element. The Fifth Element, Die Hard. They're all like 80s, early 90s movies. The Fifth Element, the original Die Hard, which the first 3, shockingly enough, I really enjoy. I think the third one was better than the second one, actually. But Fifth Element, Die Hard, and this is not in 1 through 5 order or anything. This is just top 5. Predator, obviously, Top Gun, and Starship Troopers.
Wow.
Yep. Like, just
pretty good.
There, and it changes.
A lot of 80s in there.
It changes. Don't get me wrong. It all changes. But it, like, The Gentleman is one of my favorite movies of all time. However, it's new. So it's still new. Like 2020, I think, is when it came out, right before COVID. And it hasn't stood the test of time for me. You know what I mean? Whereas like Predator, it's just like they're all, again, they're not like Grammy or not Grammy. That's music. They're not
Oscar award.
Yeah, whatever the crap freaking movie awards are. It's like they're not going to get nominated for this, that, and the other. But that's not what I care about. I couldn't care less about the Oscar nominations or anything like that. Yeah, I literally couldn't care less. So it's rewatchability. Like Predator, right? It is, and one thing I love about 80s action is it is, especially in today's society, is it's unapologetically toxically masculine. You know what I mean? Like, it's so over the top. It's so just like, man, like, so Predator in particular, at the very beginning, you've got freaking Arnold Schwarzenegger, and I can never remember the guy's name, but he plays Apollo Creed, I believe. He plays Dylan in the movie. We're just gonna IMDb this.
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
Have to guess.
We got internet. We have the technology.
I am my own Jamie. Let's see.
One day, maybe we'll have somebody. Did I tell you that Caitlin said that she was like, I can be your person in the background. Where you're like, hey, look this up.
No, but that's awesome.
You just hear like a quiet voice in the back saying like, this is who it was.
That was Carl Weathers. Wow, I'm an idiot. Yeah, I should have known better. I should have known better. Yeah, Happy Gilmore, Rocky was, he was Apollo Creed. But he plays Dylan. And at the very beginning, it's that whole, like, I'm sure you've seen the meme a ton of times, but they like come up and they do this like, grasp hands, and then it turns into an arm wrestle, and it just shows like their bulging biceps, and like, Dylan, you son of a bitch, and then it's like, just like, yeah, it's perfect. It's so good. Such a great movie.
Oh goodness.
I love those, and again, the writing was good, and it's the 80s action, right? So it's not like stellar acting, stellar whatever, but like, that's the genre, you know what I mean? It's the best of that genre. And if you like the genre, well, you gotta like Predator, and you gotta like Die Hard.
True.
Those are
true.
Like the epitome.
Yeah, very true. I mean, and there's good stuff to like about it. It's there's not a lot of depth, but you're guaranteed to get what you're there
Yeah.
for.
Well, and there is more depth than people give it credit for, I would say. But yes, it's not like, it's not like Split, like a psychological
Inception.
thriller. Well, yeah, I mean,
3 levels into a dream.
yeah. Speaking
Yeah,
of,
it's like
perfect segue. So
very well.
Prof, right?
Prof.
Yeah,
Yes.
Prof. So I'm a sucker for Prof. K-Fry knows this. Now the audience knows this. If you're not familiar with him, recommend you give him a listen. PROF. But so he came out with a new album, and I, of course, pre-ordered the vinyl. And it, yeah, so I just got it the other day, and so the album actually doesn't release until, like, you can't get it on iTunes until April 14th, and I got this on Saturday. Yeah, I got it on Saturday in the mail, and so I got it pretty decently, ahead of time. It's a signed copy, which is great, but the amount of effort that went into like creating this whole thing, I'm seriously impressed. Like it. So open it up, and I should have done an unboxing video in hindsight, but it's a double vinyl set. There's a name for it, but there's two records in it, and they're, of course, like different colors or whatever, and it's the aesthetics is pretty good, and it folds up. It's got like a trifold, and then each song has its own basically it's like a 10 by 10 poster. Each song, and there's 14 songs, so it's got a 10 by 10 poster. Wow. Where he did this like big photo shoot, so it's like a 10 by 10 poster, and then it's got on the back is the lyrics and of every single song, and it's like all separate. It's That's not like a booklet or anything. So he did that, and then again he signed the front of it, and on the packing list in there, pull it out, and I see that there's like handwriting on it, and I'm like, okay, it's one of those like somebody wrote it by hand, and then it's like a generic thing, and then they just scan it onto all of them, and it looks like it's handwritten on every single one of them type of deal, but you can tell it's scanned, and it's not. It's handwritten. It's got like my name on it, type of like throughout, and on the top, because I'm Kyle from Kyle, Texas, and so it's got my name up there, and it's got my address up there, and it's like circled in like arrow from Kyle to Kyle, Texas, and it's like Kyle Inception, WTF, like question mark, and then like Prof wrote like a little thing that's like something about like, thank you so much, Kyle, for clocking in and showing Kyle how to get work done, and I don't mean you, so I mean, it was like a personalized thing. Like I'm very impressed. Yeah, very impressed that like he went to that extent to personalize it that way. Like, and
here's the other question.
It came with like a bunch of stickers, and it came with 4 like postcards. $60. I was very surprised. I was very
for
pleased.
$60, that's like a lot. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
A lot of effort. That's
and
it came. Money.
It came with like these. It was like 4 postcards, and like the postcards were more of the photo shoot type of deal. And then there's like 3 or 4 stickers that it came with, and it's just like it's not. I mean, it's a lot of money that they put into it. I would say like production wise, as far as like the the way it looks and the aesthetics and all that, but in like the time and effort that he went through, like how many people, I mean, it's vinyl, so there's not as many people like me ordering vinyl as people who are going to buy it digitally or CD or whatever, but like to be able to do that for each and every person, I would imagine, that pre-ordered his like the vinyl version. Like that's impressive. That's a commitment.
Yeah, I like that kind of touch. I think that shows that you're really connecting with the people who, again, are pretty much making your life successful.
Well, it makes me want to like
it's
take
kind of
better.
give back.
Yeah, it makes me want to take better care of the thing itself, even where it's like I'm like keeping it in the bubble wrap, you know, and like putting it back in the box and then setting it aside type of deal when I'm not listening to it, because it's like, you know, the amount of effort and care that went into creating that. And I'm keeping the packing list, which who keeps the packing list, like the receipt or whatever, but like I'm keeping it because it's such a cool like little personalized thing that I think is great. So yeah, kudos.
Yeah,
big props.
Awesome. Well, because I was going to say, like, that's one of the things that I think is really important is connecting with your audience. Like,
yeah, for sure,
that is. But well, and I sent you those videos back when Alyssa went to I can't remember who. What it was for.
Lecrae.
I think it was just like a big concert. It was a big concert for Christian hip hop artists. And I sent you those
which
videos
is awesome.
Or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's just fun to have, like, all she did was like, hey, I've, you know, like my somewhat cousin or my cousin's husband is obsessed with your guys' music, and they're like, hey, let's do a video. And it's just like, nice. And she had another person that did the same thing, and they're like, yeah, let's do another one. And they just were hanging out, having fun. But I mean, that's the kind of part that I hope that if we ever have any following, even if it's like 4 people, that
I'm going to be famous. For sure. I'll be famous.
The confidence. For sure. I definitely think you will. And I'll ride your coattails all the way. But, I mean, we should definitely continue that same concept. And you've always been a person who's like,
for sure, goes
all the way. I'm like, 100%.
Well, that's, if I do something, that also gets me in trouble sometimes. So,
well,
like disc golfing.
You'll end up getting in. The thing that reminds me is like the gold filigree. Pretty much anything you do, I just imagine that it has gold filigree on it as well.
That's a good, it's a great one.
That is Kyle. That's Kyle to me, is just gold filigree. On whatever he does. That's an accurate assessment for sure. Anyway, yes, the album is good. He's released most of the songs on single beforehand. So like I've been able to listen to them for a while, and almost every single one of them that he's released I've enjoyed. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 out of 14. So half of them he's released already. And I've been listening to for a while. So I would say 2 out of the 7, I'll say 1 out of the 7 I don't really enjoy listening to. I don't really listen to it because it's not my thing, not my style, which is upsetting because it's featuring Method Man, and I'm a big fan of Method Man. But I'm not a big fan of that one. And then there's a second one it's pretty good, but it's not something that I tend to listen to often. I mean, I don't necessarily listen to Prof often because he's a guilty pleasure type of deal. So sometimes I'm in a mood and I'm like, I'm going to listen to Prof real quick. But out of, there's one. Like you're like, get a mistress or something.
Yeah. My wife's not home. I'm going to turn on some Prof.
It's like, I don't listen to it often, but when I do, I listen. Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely there's one in particular that I'm like, this is my favorite song on the album. I think even out of the singles he's released, which I like a lot of them, this one might be my favorite on the entire album, and that's a new one that he didn't release as a single. So
The other ones I'll have to listen to again because right now I can only listen to it on vinyl. Well, not necessarily. So people who pre-ordered it, they actually gave them access. They gave you like a digital download link that you could download it early. The problem is since I use Apple Music, it doesn't translate. You know what I mean? So it won't let me download it on my phone. So I was able to download it on my computer. So if I'm ever connected to my headphones connected to my computer, I can listen to it, but that's it.
Yeah.
So I haven't listened to all of the songs multiple times to really see if I like any of the if I'm like, oh yeah, but except for that one that really the first time I listened to it, I'm like, yeah, this is a banger. This is definitely one I'm gonna like.
Nice. I do love that. I love when because people are dropping singles that end up on the album, and they've done that for a long time, but I feel like they're doing it more often because people are so
fickle,
wanting nonstop. they want stimulation pretty much. And in reality, I think a big part of that came from COVID, because I remember talking to a buddy of mine, and he was talking about how people were moving away from labels because they were getting the same amount of people to follow them off of just dropping content nonstop. And then the artist Toby Nwigwe, he that's what he did. He's like, I'm gonna make a new single every week or every 2 weeks for a year straight, and I'm gonna see what happens. And he did, and it's just crazy how he just kept pumping things out, and now he's huge, and he got his last album, it's got tons of people featuring it, but he didn't start out that way. He just kept at it, and it is fun to be able to have something more regularly. But I always like when you get an album and there's really hard hitters on it, and you're like, yes, this is so exciting.
That's what I've been waiting
for.
All
these ones come on. Versus when you get an album that they put out all the good stuff and then it's
and then everything else is mediocre. Yeah,
exactly.
Yep, I'm with you.
I don't like it. So that's pretty sweet. Even though I did like that one song that Louisiana. I did like that one.
Well, the song that
as much, but
well, those are more goofy party song type. I don't want to call them goofy because they're not, but there's some humor in it. It's not like Lil Dicky or anything, but it's he's just having fun. That's one thing I think I enjoy about him, is that he's refreshing in the sense that his live performances and the live and in color performance, there's so much emotion in Louisiana. Just that one in particular, there's so much emotion in that the way he, or I don't know if you had a chance to watch it yet, but there's so much emotion that he dumps and pours into it. But he does that with all of his other live and in color ones that he does, where it's fun. You can tell he is enjoying what he's doing and he's having fun up there, and when he's on stage, he's having fun with his friends, and it's all he knows this is not going to last forever, and he's enjoying it while he can. Now, the way he's enjoying it, I don't condone of. I'm going to put that out there, right? Teach your own, and hey, he's got has had one hell of a life, and I'm not going to pretend to even know what that feels like. But so the song I really like is called Tough Boy, and it's more along the lines of Louisiana. I think it's a little bit more upbeat, but he talks about his life, his early life and his relationship with his dad, which was terrible. Essentially his dad beating him up, and then his dad eventually set their house on fire, and I don't know if he killed himself in the fire, but yeah. So anyway, but it's it's not that I connect with that song because my dad didn't beat me up and set my house on fire type of deal, but I connect with the emotion and the realness, you know what I mean? That he just fillets himself open, and it's just raw and it's real, and I connect with that. And I don't know, like the way he puts it together, it's catchy. I mean, it's great. So,
well, I think that's something that is true about anything that's authentic and real and raw. And even if I don't agree with it or don't fully understand it, there's just something that you can connect with because of that. And
well, especially in today's society, you don't get it very often. You don't get that very often of like the real, raw, authentic anymore. And people love to market things as real and raw and authentic. Uncut. This is all raw and real. And it's like, nope, no, it's not. It's still staged. It's still planned out. It's still, whatever. And so, but yeah, so I think people crave that authenticity. And so when you find it, real authenticity, people tend to gravitate towards it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's what, you mentioned it before, but that's the reason why I love the podcast, The Basement, is because you can just tell he is 100% authentic in all that he does. And that's something that when I was listening to that and I was kind of listening to that while we were kind of starting things up, I was like, that's what I would like this to be. I would like this to be 100% authentic space where we just are ourselves and that's it. And we get to talk about things and be real about everything that, what we think about, what we feel about, and what are those deeper things. I think that's the part that people crave, because we all have that like shallow connection point, and that's what's pretty much portrayed through everything, is that just fakeness versus being 100% authentic. That's just not often. Most people got their guard up.
Yeah. Well, and that's one thing that I've noticed in my friendships with anybody, with you, it's just like, and that's kind of what I've been expressing lately, is that it's like, I have realized that I have created boundaries in friendships. I like, oh yeah, K-Fry is my best friend, and Evan is my best friend. Like I've the people that I consider in my circle of trust, my very limited, tight knit, I would say, group. I still realize that there's boundaries there that shouldn't be there, that I've created, because. So, for instance, if they're listening, I love you guys, and you are in this circle, which is why I'm including this story. But again, this is me trying to be real and raw and authentic, and this is a prime example of it. And it not necessarily going well, but it was an attempt at me trying to do that. And one thing I've realized about myself is that I'm not as articulate as I would like to be. And so it requires me, that's why I talk, part of the reason why I talk a lot, I feel like, because it requires me to use more words to get my point across, because I'm not as articulate as I should be.
Yeah. So here. I'm trying to explain myself as I go.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Just and being able to articulate it well.
Yeah. Yes. And so, but we have this couple friend, and they were over recently, and we were having a discussion of the is homosexual attraction a sin? And the guy and I were having this conversation, and his wife and my wife were having a conversation, but they were sitting there, and then they kind of like joined in the conversation, and I was playing devil's advocate like the whole time to just facilitate a debate, like between him and myself. And like he and I knew we were both kind of relatively on the same page, but we wanted to explore it a little bit. And so the women got involved, and they were kind of talking about it, and it was great. Like I think we were having a great back and forth. Everyone had good perspectives and things to say. And then at one point I could tell that it was getting a little heated. And so I was just like, I should just bring up the fact that I agree with her. Like we're basically on the same page. I think she was a little bit more liberal in her in her thought of it than I was. So like there was a little bit separation, but by and large we agreed. And so I was like, I mean, just so you're aware, like I agree with you. Like we're on the same page. We agree. Yeah. I've just, I'm playing devil's advocate to facilitate the discussion and conversation. And she just couldn't understand that. And she's like, what? Why are you wasting my time? Basically, which again, I don't fault her for feeling that way at all, because that's her personality. You know what I mean? It's like, nope, I don't have time for this. Efficiency, you know what I mean? And straightforward. And Caitlin tends to be that way. Yeah. It's just, she's been married to me for going on 10 years now. So, she's kind of used to it. Yeah, she understands at this point. But then the discussion turned into the importance of having conversations like that and playing devil's advocate. And she just didn't see the benefit in it. And I'm like, so there's no situation where you can see that there's a benefit in playing devil's advocate. Like, we were talking about Christianity in particular and evangelism. And I'm like, well, so you guys just got back from Africa. And if they didn't know who it was at this point, now they know. But you guys just got back from Africa and you were, preaching the good word and everything like that and reaching people for Christ. And wouldn't you want to, like, when you get challenged by, like, if I'm talking to an atheist and an atheist is going to challenge me and they're going, and I should welcome it as anybody, whether I'm a Christian or not, like, you should welcome that challenge. But they're going to challenge me and they're going to ask me this and they're going to ask me that. And I've met a lot of atheists who know a lot of scripture. I've met atheists that knew more scripture than I did at the time that we were having the conversation, which was like an eye opener, and like, there's a problem here. And so, like, anyway, so wouldn't I rather have that conversation with a fellow Christian who I know and trust, who has my best interest in mind, and have this debate where they're the ones trying to poke holes in my argument and I can find the weaknesses in practice, right? Rather than actual play. Yeah. I don't want to call it play, but like, we practice how we play type of deal. So it's like, wouldn't I want to find those weaknesses in practice rather than in the actual game? So playing the devil's advocate, right? Is that, it's that benefit and amongst other benefits, but like, that's the main one. And she just wasn't she just didn't agree. She wasn't understanding what I was trying to say. And so I felt as though that was closed-minded, in my opinion, because she was like, no, that's a waste of time. Now I do understand, because she said, well, she was using their experience in Africa in particular. And she's like, we don't have questions like this. Like, they're just so thirsty for something that when you tell them about Jesus, they're just like, yeah, that's what I need. Like, there isn't this debate about homosexuality and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, I totally get that. I understand that. But is Africa the only mission field there is in the world? Are you currently in Africa? Do you have any immediate plans to go back to Africa? Like, where's your mission field now? You know what I mean? Like, it's here in Austin, and you have to think about the type of people. Exactly. And so, and you're going to have to be able to test that. Anyway. So I'd said, like, I promise you this is coming from a place of love, even if it doesn't feel like it, but I feel that that's closed-minded. And so what I started to realize is, in that interaction with her, I was trying to be as real and authentic as I could be, because what I've done in the past is, like, with somebody who I consider like my best friend, and I love you, I love them, I love, whatever. If I say I love you the way I say I do, then I should feel comfortable enough challenging you on what I feel or I believe is incorrect. And I could be wrong.
Definitely.
but I'm not going to know until I throw that challenge out there and we have that discussion, and I might end up being wrong, and then I need to understand that, like, oh, well, glad I threw that out there, and now I'm the one, and I need to be okay with that. Like, that's the point of those discussions, is so we can all collectively be closer to God's truth. And so that's what I was trying to like convey to her, is that, like, I think that that's closed-minded. And if you were somebody I didn't care about, I'd let you go on being closed-minded. Like, okay, cool. You know, you agree that, or you think that, I think this, we'll agree to disagree. But that's not the case. I love you, and you're not just some random. You know what I mean? Like, I love you, and I want the best for you. And if I think you're being closed-minded, I have to. And this, again, this is the new development, where before I would just be like, oh yeah, okay, agree to disagree, whatever. To avoid conflict. And now it's like, no, I'm not going to do that anymore. I'm going to be me. I'm not going to be afraid to bring something up because I'm afraid of people's reactions, or I'm afraid of whatever. Like, I love you. This is coming from a place of love. I need to do my best to convey that to you, but you're being closed-minded, and we need to talk about this. And I need to hold you accountable the same way you need to hold me accountable. And I need to break down all these walls that I've built in my friendships, and I need to be open, and I need everyone to be open with me. That's what I'm trying to do with the Order of Iron, where it's like I try and bring that up over and over again, where, like, I'm holding you accountable, but you need to do the same for me. I need it just as badly as you do.
Yeah. And in reality, I think that's what we all need. And that type of interaction, and of course, you're not going to be super deep friends with every single person that you're around. Like, I've got coworkers that, like, I don't sit down and have philosophical conversations with all the time. But for the people that I'm like, I want to be close friends, I want to do life with, I want to have that part. Being your authentic self and pressing into those spaces, being real, allows for you to find the people who are really going to be your people, versus holding your cards back and being like, we're going to connect deeply over here, but I'm not going to tell you about this part of me so we can stay connected here, versus being like, all right, if we're going to be real, like, I want you to know fully me. Like, I want you to know who I am and know everything about me. And if we're best friends, then awesome. If we're not, then we also shouldn't waste each other's time pretending that we are, and find our real people. Like, maybe we just don't connect. And I always say, press in hard once and put it all out there. And if it's like, nope, then it's like, okay, agree to disagree. But I want you to truly know where I'm at and what I feel and what my thoughts are and what I believe and all this stuff. And then if you're like, nope, still don't want that, then that's fine. I know that that's not a space we're going to connect. But if I don't try, then I won't know. And in reality, that would be a loss for the both of us. For our relationship, that will be a loss. And so, I mean, it's 100% what I tell my clients all the time is you want to have deep connections with the people that you really think you want to go through life with, and you need to be you, 100% you. And if they accept it, wonderful. They're your people. If they don't, they're not your people. Don't waste time. Move on to another one. And you of course can have different relationships. You can have, less intense, less connected, but your core people, you should be able to be 100% yourself. Like, all the good, all the bad, all the dumb ideas, all the random thoughts that go through your head. That should be it. And that's the beauty of pretty much what all of you.
I mean, I don't know about that. There's some thoughts. I don't have full control over the thoughts that come into my head. You know what I mean? Like, you capture the thought once it's there. You capture it and run it through the filter of Christianity, of God. But
That's true. That's true.
Just because something pops in my head doesn't mean that that's me. You know?
No. Yeah, I meant filtered thoughts. Yeah. Filtered thoughts.
Yes.
Please, absolutely. Let's not harm anyone with our unfiltered thoughts.
Yeah.
Because that would be. But yeah, I mean, that's what you're going to get on this podcast is our filtered thoughts. It's pretty much authentic us.
Yeah, like, am I the only one in the world that has a thought and I just like think to myself, like, what the F was that? Like, why did that pop into my brain? Like, what? Or like, what the heck just happened? You know, am I the only one that has those thoughts where it's just like, bloop, and I'm like, what? No, like, why did that just happen?
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Sometimes I'm just like, what is going on in there? Like,
yeah.
Like it's almost like this like explosion of just like random things from the past converging with random things in my present, converging with like imagination. It's just like it all comes out and it's just like, what was that even for? Like, where did that come from?
Yeah,
it's the brain is a complex, weird thing. It's like
absolutely
having a little mini universe in your brain. It's crazy.
I think that's why God says that, excuse me. It's not the thought that's the sin, or it's not the attraction that's the sin. It's when you dwell on that and you entertain the idea and you start to act on it. I mean, even before you actually act on it, but like it's when it becomes more than just a thought. Is when you get in trouble because the thought is
random firing.
But, where it's just like bloop, and you're just like what?
Yeah, it's focused. It's like, ooh, I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna run with it, and it becomes a process versus just random firing of your neurons because that does happen. And
yes, it does.
That is outside of your control, but yeah, again, I think that's something that I'm excited about. For our space. And in reality, I'm excited to be that person. That's like one of the things that, ironically, listening to The Basement, just for the authenticity part, first of all, it's a phenomenal podcast. But for the authenticity that comes from that podcast, it just makes me want to be me. It's like, why would I try to be anything other than 100% me? And
absolutely.
Enjoy it, don't enjoy it. But like trying to not be me is so much work. Might as well just be me. Like, I don't even know why I would try not to be me. But trying to, act differently, talk differently, sound smarter than I am. I am what I am. It is what it is. Just enjoy it.
Yep. Yeah, that's one thing. Growing up, man, I kind of started with cigars for me. I know that sounds stupid, but like when I started to get into cigars and wanted to learn more about cigars, I was watching like a video and they were kind of talking like, don't try and act like you know what you're talking about. Like just go into a cigar shop and be like, I don't know, because they're going to tell you, like they're going to help you. And so I did. And I walked in, I'm like, I have no idea what I'm talking about. Totally brand new. And they were like, awesome, cool. Let me tell you about this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I'm going to do this in every aspect of my life. Every time I don't like, because before I'd be like, act like I've been there, like I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. I'll figure it out on my own. I don't need that. I don't need the people that really know what they're talking about. It's like, you're an idiot. Put your stupid little boy ego away.
Mm-hmm. Yes. That's pretty much what we need to hear 24/7 all the time.
Yeah.
Push your stupid little boy ego away.
Absolutely.
Because it is. It is.
I think I have done a good job. I think it really kind of started in Afghanistan. But I think I have done a good job for me personally, comparatively speaking. But I've done a good job for me personally of really just killing my ego. It still comes up. I still have issues. It's reoccurring. Yeah. It's going to be reoccurring for the rest of my life, I would imagine. But by and large, like now it's it comes way easier. And when it does start to spark up, typically I can identify it right away and be like, okay, all right, shut up, put your ego away, you know.
Yeah.
It's still a struggle. It's always going to be one, but
yeah, it definitely will. And it's just going to be a lifelong struggle there. But the more you press into it, the more you're going to have a fullness of what God planned for you to have. The more you're you, and enjoy it. Like I tell my clients all the time. I'm like you're the only person you're ever going to have. You're going to be no one else. So, first of all, why not love yourself? Because it ain't like you're going to get somebody, like you ain't going to get a new version or a better. Like it's just going to be you forever until you die. So start enjoying you and start finding out who you are and be the best you.
Well, and you can't truly love others, in my opinion, if you don't love yourself first. And there's a lot, like, you need to talk about what loving yourself really is. You know what I mean? Not being full of yourself, but like, you know, loving yourself as God's yeah, exactly. As God's creation, being fearfully and wonderfully made, and an image bearer of God. And this is actually something that a concept that I first heard from somebody who I really don't agree with in any way, shape, or form as far as spirituality goes. But I was listening to this guy's podcast, and he is I would say a believer of like the quote from 13 Hours. If you've ever seen that movie where he's like, all the gods, the heavens, the hells are within you. You know what I mean? Like he's a big fan of like the ayahuasca trips, going on spiritual journeys and things like that. Mm-hmm. But one thing that he had talked about is like the golden rule, love your neighbor as yourself. And the way he had said, he's like, I go a step further and say, love your neighbor because they are you. You know what I mean? Like they are you living a different life. Now, as a Christian, I see that as God's truth in the sense that, like with homeless people in particular. And Phil, if you're listening, this one's for you. People experiencing homelessness. And we'll put it that. That's I've got a buddy who that's how he refers to them because it's all, the labels. It's all about labeling people and they're not a homeless person. They're a person first, and they're experiencing homelessness. Anyway,
you can't have it to anybody.
Yeah, well, and that's
just because I became homeless doesn't mean I'm a homeless person. I just lost my home.
Yeah, well, and yes, I definitely understand the delineation he's trying to make there, and like the point he's trying to make. I don't know if that's necessarily the best way of going about doing it. Is like, I don't know if that's really going to accomplish it in the end, is just changing that nomenclature. But the purpose of me bringing it up is I used to see a homeless guy on the side of the road and think to myself, like, go get a job. Like, what are you doing? If I ever became like, if someone right now took away, all my money and my job and everything like that in my house, and I had to live in the street, like, I could get back to where I needed to be. I could go get a job and then save my money and then get an apartment and then get it, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, yeah, of course, me, Kyle, who grew up with a loving mother and father and a great, home life. And yes, I did grow up poor, buttered noodles. And if we were lucky, sliced up, Oscar Mayer hot dogs, fried up in the frying pan, if we were really lucky that night type of deal. So like, we didn't grow up wealthy by any means, but I had a loving, mom and dad. They are still together. My immediate family is extremely close. I had a wonderful home life. And it's like, I didn't grow up being stuffed under the staircase, beat every single night of my life and mentally, physically, emotionally abused. And like, I didn't go through that. And so who knows? Like if I had the same experiences that guy standing or woman standing on the corner had, if I had gone through the same stuff as them, I might be dead in a ditch somewhere, and they might be better off than I am. Like they could be handling their situation far better than I ever could have. And it's like, it's so, I would say, so selfish and narcissistic to view it as like, well, I'll go get a job and like, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, dude, you have no idea. That's a human being right there. You have no idea what they've been through. You have no idea what they're capable of, even at that point in their life. It kind of goes, it's a different side. I would say it's a different side of the same coin, but like with Nazi Germany, when people are like, oh man, if I was a German during World War II, like I'd be the one, blah, blah, blah. It's like Jordan Peterson brings this up all the time. It's like, odds are you wouldn't. Odds are you would have been complacent. At the very least, you would have been complacent. Mm-hmm. Yeah. You know what I mean? If not participated. And it's like, you have to recognize, it kind of goes back to the shadow as well, as like Hitler was a human being, which is what you are. So like you say you're not capable of those things. And with your current experiences and your current life and things that have led you to where you are right now, maybe with those in your life, you aren't capable of those things. But, take away your loving parents and whatever, maybe you are. Who knows what you're capable of when the situation is right, type of deal. And I was like, you have to recognize that fact that the people who have committed the worst atrocities in human history, they're human beings the same as you.
Yeah, definitely. And also, homeless people are typically struggling with a substance abuse of some type, and many of them have mental illness, often severe mental illness that's being unmedicated. And that's the reason why. That's why I always think that Christ is like, if someone asks you for, your shirt, give them your tunic as well. Because if they're at the point to ask for something, and of course, anything can be used in a negative, like that's just what it is.
People can take advantage
use it and abuse it, of course.
Yeah.
But there's this part that, I had somebody ask one time when somebody came into a coffee shop and they were asking, and I was like, oh yeah, hey, here you go. And I gave them some money, got them a coffee, and they were like, aren't you worried about this? I'm like, if I feel like I've been told to give something, I don't question like what's going to happen with that.
You don't. Okay. If you feel like you've been told to give something.
That's to a homeless person.
So now they're different. Now they're different.
Yes.
Now they're different than everybody else. Okay.
They are. They're special. They get special stuff. Anyway, so I give it to the Holy Spirit. The Holy Spirit prompts me. Now, I don't give my money out to every single homeless person that asks me.
No.
But if I feel like the Holy Spirit's prompted me, I give it. I don't think a second thought to it, because whether they do take it and they use something negative, that's
between them and God.
Yes, and also, who knows what? Maybe that's the thing that they need to get to. And I usually say something specifically, about Christ or about God when I do that. And with the hope that, even if they use something negative, that is hopefully like a seed planted. And it gets, at some point in time, maybe they do something awful with it. And they're like, man, like, this is just not what I want. Because every single time they go through that cycle, it ends up coming up short. So if I can give something additional to it, then great. And in reality, you're absolutely right. It is a huge part to have loving parents and a healthy home. Even if it's dysfunctional, a healthy home, it saves you from so much. Just having the thought of like, I'm worth things, and you learn coping skills, even if they're not the healthiest, but they're not horribly detrimental. I mean, like it really does make an astronomical difference. And so for those who don't have those things like that, we should be compassionate
Yeah.
and kind and loving to those people, versus just being like the whole pick yourself up by your bootstraps. Like, nowhere is that a biblical reference of like, of course you should do things, but like it's communal. It's always been communal. Like, everybody come together, everybody try to help one another, do for others, give, serve. It's not like, hey, go get your crap together, then you'll get in with people,
Yep.
or then God will love you. It's the exact opposite. So it's very kind of, our culture has kind of created that unhealthy mindset.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I would definitely. So well, and it's human nature, and that feels like a cop out. You know what I mean? But it is, and it doesn't mean we shouldn't fight against it every moment of our lives, because we should. But it is human nature. It's something that we're all going to struggle with. We all inherently want to be selfish and worry about self-preservation and everything like that. But it's to be Christ-like is to put others first. You know what I mean? To put in Christ's situation, to put everyone first.
Yeah.
Literally have the most lopsided, unfair deal in history of, you know what I mean? Like, sure, I'll take on all of your horrible, you give me your worst and I'll give you my best.
Mm-hmm.
And take it willingly.
Yeah. It becomes,
and give it willingly. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Well, because you were talking about in your Marco Polo today, like what Jesus went through, and like the Passion does a good job. The Passion of the Christ does a good job of portraying like the physical aspect of it, and I would say like the human aspect of, because we have to look at Jesus as the human aspect as well as a godly aspect, and the Passion of the Christ does a good, what I would imagine to be a good job portraying the human aspect of the crucifixion. But also, like, he had to go through a point where he was separated from his Father. You know what I mean? Like in that moment, in that crucifixion moment, like he was without his Father, and he, I mean, that's part of it. Like, that is so, like, I don't know. I think about, like, that's what hell is. Hell is
yeah.
You don't need to think of these horrible demons and torture and blah, being strapped to a table and ripped. Like, you don't need to think, like, the worst thing imaginable is a complete separation from God.
Yeah.
Like, where God, like, that is an eternal abyss. That is hell. That is like this, just, imagine the worst depression ever and multiply it by 1,000. You know what I mean? Like, and it never ends for eternity. And it's just like there is no hope of God in your life ever again. And like, that is the scariest thing I could possibly imagine. And it's not because I'm scared that, like, oh, if I'm bad, God's going to punish me and send me to hell, so I'm more scared of the punishment. I'm scared of the lack of God. You know what I mean? Like that's what I'm scared of. It's not the wrath of God necessarily, like a spanking, right? I'm not scared of like the spanking that's coming. I'm scared of the disownment, I guess, like that total lack of God being there. And it's like, even atheists, right? They still, as long as they're alive, as long as there's still breath in their lungs, they're not totally devoid of Christ. Like it's always there. Like, the hope is still there. The opportunity is still there. Like, so no one who's currently living can possibly fathom that complete and total separation from God the Father.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah, it is an utter, it's unfathomable of what that'll feel like, because again, even if you don't believe, like time separated from God, different things like that, he's still always right there. and he's still
Yep.
within all things, and
just waiting for you.
Yeah, and so you have no concept of the void of him, and that would be. I mean, it's just unimaginable, and that's the reason why. Like, anytime someone is like, offended when I talk about Christ or I talk about God, that's where it's coming from. It's not me being like, I know more than you or I'm better than you or anything like that. It's just like, I don't want that void to be your eternity.
Yeah.
If I believe that wholeheartly,
Yep.
then me not sharing it would be like, I hate you. Like, if I don't say anything to you, then I'm being like, I literally don't care about your forever eternity. And it's something that I definitely started to recognize. Like, that's the purpose of it. It's just like I'm luckily stumbling in the right direction, and I realize how important it is to stumble that way. And so I just want you to stumble along with me. I'm not saying you're a worse person. Like, I'm horrible myself, but I just found the right arrow of where to go. And I just want everyone to come with and not be separated, because again, I couldn't even imagine.
That was one thing at the marriage conference that my wife and I went to recently that stuck out in my mind, is that he's talking about like the person you married, and he's like, it's very easy for us to point out like all the flaws of our significant other and like, oh, they could do this better, or they could do that better. And it's like, you married them. What you need to understand is you married somebody who's such a horrible person that Jesus Christ had to be crucified for that person that you married. That person that you married is the reason Jesus Christ was crucified on the cross. And it's like, and you married that. Vice versa. And that's the point. You know what I mean? Like, that's a universal statement for anyone ever.
Talking to both of you at the same time.
Exactly. Exactly.
I think it's 100% true.
Yeah. And it's like, and you need to be okay with that. Like, the Bible talks about making room for our mistakes, like for your loved one's mistakes. And it doesn't mean condoning it and encouraging it, but it means giving them mercy and grace as God gave us mercy and grace.
For sure.
That's why, everyone that's like, especially atheists, all religion is the same. And what's the difference between Islam and Christianity and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I'll tell you what the difference is. I mean, if you want to talk Islam and Christianity in particular, in Islam, that your God asks you to die for him, or, Allah. Right. You're asked jihad, whatever that looks like for you, but a lot of, dying for your God. My God died for me. And in no other religion anywhere, and again, Christianity is not religion, but no other religion anywhere is grace and mercy at the center.
Yeah.
And like, it has nothing to do with us, and it has everything to do with him.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And that's pretty much what we're to reflect. And I think that's sometimes a bit of what we forget, is that as Christians, that's what we're supposed to reflect. Not the second coming of Christ, when he's wrathful and comes in and he starts, tearing people up. Like, he's like, I don't need you reflecting that. Like, I'm gonna do that part when it's time to. When things are done.
We talked about this last time. He is the Lamb that was slain, and he is the Lion of Judah.
Yes, and so
I don't need to be that.
Yes, he does not need any more lions. He is lion enough, and it's like, that's the part that I think. That's why we're supposed to be peacemakers. That's why we're supposed to love our enemies. That's why, like, it's all counterculture, and it's really hard. Also, because that doesn't come.
It's a struggle that I have
for any of us. Yeah. So again, I think that's the perfect ending, is just this reminder for us, for everyone. That again, this is authentic us. Our faith is going to be a massive part of this podcast, and I'm excited about being able to intertwine life and all these different topics and different things here to get from where we started, where we were talking about movies, to the fact that we just have digressed just like like all the way here. And it's but I think it's a perfect ending of this is what we're called to. This is what I hope this podcast gets to be, is a place for us to be able to do those things here and in our conversation. So I think we did it. Episode 3. Done and done.
Yeah, I would say pretty good. I mean, listening to the good word of Jesus from I'll speak for myself, from a horrible human being who is trying every day to be better.
Right behind you. Behind you on
from
that.
A recovering porn addict who also is addicted to, nicotine and, caffeine and all. It's like all the things that I've done in my life. I don't currently smoke. I don't currently chew tobacco, but if I threw in a lipper right now, I'd be off the wagon and I'd be buying, cans of chew. So just like an alcoholic, you're never not an alcoholic anymore. You're just a recovering alcoholic. Exactly. And that's it. Nicotine's a drug. Pornography's a drug, in my opinion. It's an addiction, just like anything. I'm a recovering everything addict.
Yeah. Unfortunately, as we've seen in our first episode, we were not the best of people. And so there's wasn't that we didn't do
progress, not perfection. That is my motto.
Exactly. We are
words to live by, Eggsy. Words to live by.
All right. Well, I think we are good to go. So we'll talk to you all next time on the
Maybe you're like, podcast. Man, screw this podcast.
Well, yeah,
never gonna listen to this one again.
Whoever wants to.
In which case, I wish you the best of luck in everything that you do. I hope you're just super successful and win the lottery. Those are two separate things. I hope you're super successful and you win the lottery.
I was gonna say the lottery it's a mixed bag. Most people don't know how to do the lottery well. They end up. People turn on.
Oh, what? When they win?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Anthony Jeselnik puts it very well. He's a comedian talking about his career and saying offensive things, and and he's like, it's like people playing the lottery. Like if they cared about their money, they wouldn't be playing the lottery to begin with.
Yeah, exactly. How much money you could have invested?
Exactly.
A lottery winner for sure versus maybe and wasting all your money. So I'll just hit up the success part. I hope you're very successful. Even if you don't listen to this podcast, go on and do great things. Don't play the lottery.
But if you do, I hope you win.
Yes, but if you do, yes, good luck to it. All right. We are out.